My name is Reuven Tradburks. I'm director of the Israel region of the RCA. I think every year on Parshat Shelach we need to speak about Aliyah. Rav Schechter was asked a couple of years ago at the RCA convention, should rabbis address the mitzvah of Aliyah? So he said the rabbis should speak about all the mitzvahs. Should encourage people to keep Shabbos and to keep kosher and to keep Torah and Mishpacha and to make Aliyah. That's a mitzvah of the Torah like any other mitzvah. So I think we should speak about Aliyah. At least Parshat Shelach lends itself. And I think also maybe Lech Lecha or maybe Tisha B'Av time, we should speak about Aliyah. I want to speak Aliyah in three different thoughts. One is a thought of the Rav, of the segula nature of the Lashon Hara, or the lack of recognition of the school Lashon Hara, of Miriam against Moshe and against of the Meraglim. The second thing I want to share a thought of Rav Tzadok on chutzpah. And the third, I want to give a thought of Drishas Tzion. So the Rav asks, do you have two instances of Lashon Hara juxtaposed? Aaron and Miriam's Lashon Hara against Moshe at the end of Baloscha, and the beginning of the Parsha, the Meraglim's Lashon Hara against the land of Israel. And their sin, or the failure of the two of them, was the failure to recognize the segula nature of Moshe and the segula nature of the land of Israel. That Moshe, panim al panim, he's different. He's different than other people. And the land of Israel, it's different. The segula nature of the land of Israel, it's just a different place. And they failed to recognize that. I'll come back to that. Reb Tzadok also says, right after the failure of the Meraglim, the people are told you're not going to get into the land of Israel, you people. And then you have the story of the Mapilim. The Mapilim say, okay, chatanu, we sinned. Nala, let's go to the land of Israel right now. Moshe says, you can't go, you don't have Hashem with you. And in fact, they're not successful. So Reb Tzadok quotes a Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Kuf Hey Amud Aleph, in which he says the sin of the Meraglim, the Mapilim, was that they were chutzpah. So he says, the Gemara says, chutzpah is malchusa de lo tagahi. Chutzpah is malchus without a crown. So he says, malchus in Kabbalah is Knesset Yisrael. That the Knesset Yisrael without the Keser, what's the Keser? It's Hashem. The Knesset Yisrael without Hashem, that's chutzpah. Sometimes we overstep our bounds. That was the Mapilim. But, he said, sometimes chutzpah is the right thing. So he says, Ikvus de Mashiach, in the time of Ikvus de Mashiach, there'll be a time of chutzpah. So he says, that's chutzpah of Malchusa Bitaga. That's Knesset Yisrael with Hashem. And that chutzpah is a good thing. So that's the second concept. I think we can talk about Aliyah as being a chutzpah, but with the Yad Hashem. It's hard to look at the land of Israel, at the state of Israel, and the accomplishment, and the millions of people that are living here without thinking that this is Yad Hashem. This is the Yad Hashem. And so this is a chutzpah. It's a step beyond us, bitaga, with the Keser, with Hashem. And the third concept I want to just share, then I'll combine them, is the notion of Drishas Tzion. The Shulchan Aruch says that we have various different things that we do because of Dorish Tzion. In davening, we have it all over the place. Or Chadash al Tzion To'ir. What's that doing in the bracha about creation? It doesn't belong there. The answer is we don't want to end the bracha without Drishas Tzion. And the second bracha as well, we're talking about Torah and mitzvahs and the Jewish people, and we say, bring us back to the land of Israel. We have in the Shemona Esrei too. We have as Semach David. We have Tekabah Shofar Gadol Cherusenu. We have in Sheva Brachas. You have the Kol Sason and Ari Yehuda v'Chutzos Yerushalayim. You have it in the brachas of the Haftorah. You have it in benching. The Gemara says you can't have benching. Just say thank you for the wonderful meal that we've had, which is appreciation, but also the Torah and also the bris and also and in the bakashas, not just can we please give us another good meal, but bring us back to the land of Israel, v'nei Yerushalayim. So I want to say, Drishas Tzion says, when it comes to thanks and when it comes to bakasha, we have our lives. We want to be sustained. We want to have good health. We want to have success. We want to have a life of quiet, of peace. And that's what we are thankful for. And that's what we ask for. But Drishas Sion says, no, that's not sufficient. The Jew should not live satisfied with living a life of peace and tranquility and where his needs are taken care of. He needs to be Dorsh Sion. He needs to aspire to something chutzpah, something big, something much, much bigger. He should look for the return to the land of Israel, even if he's in Morocco or in Poland, or where there's no hope that he's going to ever get back there. You still have to be Dorsh Sion. You have to have Barosh Gadol. You have to have big aspirations. So I think that's the theme of Aliyah today. The theme of Aliyah today is the life in Chutz La'aretz is a good life. It is a good life for many people. There's prosperity, there's success, there's satisfaction, nachas from children, and Torah, and mitzvahs. It's a good life. But the Jew has to be Dorsh Tzion. We have to aspire to something seguladik, something really big, something unusual. I can tell you that for me, my life here, living in Yerushalayim, which is such a schus, it's got a different depth, not horizontal, but deep. Living in a country that's a Jewish country, where the Chagim are Jewish, and where the values are Jewish, and we take care of the poor, and we invest in tzedakah, and we invest in yeshivas. That's a rich thing, but that's horizontal. The depth, the vertical, is also different. To sing L'chadodi and to say Yaminu Usmol Tifrotzi, when you're living in the city that's tifrotzing, it's like expanding Yaminu Usmol right in front of our eyes. It's different. The depth of, I don't know, you want to call it mystical, you want to call it spiritual, ruchani. There is a depth of life that is deeply, deeply satisfying. That's the school and nature, I think, of the land of Israel. So I think those are the themes that Rabbanim can speak about the segula nature of the land of Israel, about the chutzpah needed to step out of where we are, which we can have today because it's ikvaz of the Mashiach, and Drishas Sion, that the Jew is always pushed to be Dorsh Sion, to live a life that is an unusual life, a life of segula of the land of Israel. Thank you.